This young woman is Dong Kyung. Despite her youth, she has been diagnosed with a malignant tumor. Her doctor recommended weekly checkups, but she refused due to work commitments. The doctor advised surgery, stating it would give her 1 more year to live. Otherwise, she only had 3 months. Leaving the clinic, she bumped into a handsome doctor. He is the legendary Destroyer. A multiple homicide had occurred that day, with the perpetrator committing suicide. The doctor had been at the scene, hypnotizing a nurse before entering the hospital room and calling the killer back to consciousness. The dying man opened his eyes. Unwilling to let him die easily, the doctor revived him. Later, he went to the rooftop and encountered a woman god. She informed him it was his birthday, and he was granted 1 wish from another person. While waiting for a bus, Dong Kyung received a call from her boyfriend asking to meet. However, upon arrival, she found his wife, heavily pregnant, waiting. The wife threw water on Dong Kyung and berated her. Dong Kyung then realized her boyfriend was married. She told the woman to discipline her husband and left. The wife, however, felt sudden abdominal pain. Dong Kyung took her to a gynecological hospital. When the woman apologized, Dong Kyung simply told her to blame herself and live well. Due to the day's events, Dong Kyung was late for work and scolded by her boss. Her boss then saw a trending online video of her midday confrontation. Dong Kyung angrily denied the situation and took a day off. That evening, the Destroyer was perplexed by the necessity of granting human wishes. On her way home, it started raining. It was her parents' death anniversary. Her younger brother, however, was out partying, having forgotten the anniversary and demanding money from her. Dong Kyung angrily hung up. At home, she bought cakes for her parents' memorial service. Her aunts, who had raised her and her sister, called to check on her. Dong Kyung was deeply grateful to them. Later, filled with sadness, she went outside with a bottle of alcohol, shouting, "I wish everything would be destroyed." At that moment, the Destroyer, Mile Mang, appeared. Intrigued by her, he went to her home. Peeking through the peephole, Dong Kyung saw the outside transformed into Paris. She opened the door, and Mile Mang greeted her. Dong Kyung recognized him from that morning. Mile Mang's uninvited entrance frightened her, prompting her to call the police. But the door was locked. Mile Mang revealed she only had 100 days left to live and circled this date on her calendar. Shocked, Dong Kyung dismissed it as a delusion. After Mile Mang left, Dong Kyung found herself in an unfamiliar place, his dream. She opened a door and found herself on a high place. To fit the setting, Mile Mang snapped his fingers, creating a beach. She questioned his pursuit of her. He explained her intriguing wish to destroy the world. Her phone rang. Mile Mang snapped his fingers, returning her to reality. Seeing the footprint and the circled date on the calendar, she believed it. Subsequently, Mile Mang continuously appeared in various disguises, driving her to the point of exasperation. While waiting at a red light, Mile Mang appeared across the street. As the light turned green, Dong Kyung started to cross when her tumor relapsed. A distracted driver sped towards her. Thinking she was going to die, time froze. Mile Mang approached her, offering 2 choices, die there or take his hand. Without hesitation, she took his hand. Time reversed. To prove his identity, Mile Mang caused a city-wide blackout and created a shooting star. This time, Dong Kyung believed him, but asked him to stop. The star disappeared, and the lights came back on. Suddenly, Mile Mang sensed something amiss and left. Dong Kyung worried about the danger of releasing his hand, so Mile Mang fastened a cord around her wrist. This cord would prevent her tumor from recurring. He went to the prison where the previous day's murderer was held. The voices of his victims echoed in the killer's mind, terrifying him and driving him to suicide. Mile Mang prevented this and left. Dong Kyung then photocopied her leave request and gave it to her department head. He refused to sign it, telling her to wait for the chairman. On her way home, while crossing the street, she recalled the morning's events and was too afraid to cross. Mile Mang appeared, took her hand, and guided her across. He asked what would happen if she broke their contract and died. He explained that if she broke the contract, death would befall the person she loved most. Dong Kyung, angry, released his hand, accusing him of not explaining this sooner. Mile Mang then transported her back to early that morning and asked, "What's your choice now?" Just as a car was speeding towards her, she shouted, "Stop everything, Mile Mang angrily left. At home, Dong Kyung's brother bought her sweets. Thinking of her only remaining family, she felt sad and hugged him. The next day, Mile Mang visited God. Following God's advice, he went to see Dong Kyung. She was taking ancestral photos. He was surprised to see her taking photos. They walked home together. When Dong Kyung touched Mile Mang, the lights on the bridge flickered. News reports of deaths blared whenever Mile Mang appeared. Misfortune followed. He took her home. As he was leaving, her ex-boyfriend showed up. Drunk and rambling, he wanted to get back together. Seeing his excessive behavior, Mile Mang grabbed him by the collar. He asked Dong Kyung if she wanted to use the contract to make him disappear. Dong Kyung said she didn't want to waste her wish. At that moment, her brother arrived, chasing the ex-boyfriend with a stick. As Mile Mang prepared to leave, Dong Kyung unexpectedly asked, "Do you want to live together?" She immediately regretted it. Entering her room, she discovered Mile Mang had transported his entire apartment there. Curious, she explored. When she tried to enter his bedroom, Mile Mang said he didn't eat or sleep like humans. She opened the front door, but no matter where she looked, she only saw the living room where Mile Mang was sitting. The doorbell rang. Dong Kyung's brother arrived, saying he taught the ex-boyfriend a lesson. He'd been hit by a car and would be hospitalized for 8 weeks. Her brother said he'd dealt with one. Now it was time for the other. He stormed into the apartment searching. In Dong Kyung's room, Mile Mang didn't hide. He even playfully called Dong Kyung my love. Her brother found it strange that such a handsome, wealthy man would like his sister. To understand better, he proposed a drinking contest. After a while, Mile Mang remained unaffected, while the brother was completely drunk. After a heart-to-heart, the brother agreed to accept this brother-in-law and asked him to take care of his sister. After her brother left, leaving the two of them to do important things, Dong Kyung washed dishes. Returning, she found Mile Mang had transformed half her house into his. Angry, she took her blankets and pillows to sleep on the sofa, watching him. Though sleepless, not wanting to disturb her, Mile Mang lay down and watched her. The next day, Dong Kyung drafted some rules for their contract and went to work. At the office, Mile Mang continuously texted her asking about household items, forcing her to rush home. But he was already gone. Currently, Mile Mang was hypnotizing a patient, telling her she had a tumor. The patient began begging him to operate and save her. Mile Mang thought Dong Kyung should have said that. Then he released the hypnosis and dismissed the patient. Dong Kyung attended the author's funeral. On her way back, God appeared and bumped into her, triggering a flood of childhood memories. She saw Mile Mang in those memories. While waiting for a bus, God reappeared, attempting to touch her bracelet. Fortunately, Mile Mang arrived and took her away. The next day, her boss returned. Looking inside, she was startled to find Mile Mang had hypnotized the entire office staff, including her boss. She scolded him. He asked, "Why are you working so hard when you're about to die?" She explained that God had brushed against her yesterday, allowing her to remember the past. Mile Mang immediately sought out God for clarification. After their conversation, he returned home and told Kyung that he also remembered seeing her then. At the funeral, everyone was crying, but she was smiling, which had stuck with him. He said, "I won't hold your hand anymore." Before Dong Kyung could understand, her tumor recurred, causing excruciating pain. Seeing her suffering, Mile Mang touched her hand, relieving the pain. Enraged, she declared, "If that's your choice, then this is mine." She leaped to her death, but Mile Mang caught her. She said, "I'm going to love you. That way, I won't lose anything. Plus, I can live longer." Mile Mang pulled her closer, saying, "Then let's try it properly." He asked if she wanted a kiss. Kyung smirked and went inside. That night, she took her blankets and pillows, summoning him to sleep with her. She specified that he shouldn't sleep, just lie beside her. He said, "If you want to play big, I'll play along." Mile Mang led her into the room and pressed her against the wall. Dong Kyung showed no fear, lying down on the bed. They lay facing each other. Dong Kyung commented, "Your back is so warm." Then she fell asleep. Mile Mang, unable to sleep, considered touching Dong Kyung's face. He remembered God's words and went outside. She woke up to find him gone. At the office, she searched online for advice on love, but found nothing helpful. She called her colleague, Jai Na, for advice. Jai Na recounted her deep first love, who happened to be Dong Kyung's boss. Jai Na advised, "Before sleeping, think about that man." On the train home, Mile Mang appeared and took her hand. At home, he asked what she was doing. She said she wanted to test his handsomeness, but it was impossible. He felt insulted. Dong Kyung applied Jai Na's strategy, asking him to take her into a dream. They arrived at a beach. She wanted to experience what love felt like. First, they returned to school. As a ball came toward her, Mile Mang caught it. The romantic scene lost its appeal, and she asked to change the scene. Now, Dong Kyung was a younger student pursuing a senior. Seeing his radiant face, she felt nauseous. Before returning, Dong Kyung wanted to see his subconscious world. With a snap of his fingers, they were transported to a flower garden. As he moved, the plants withered and died. Dong Kyung went to restore color to his world. But when they held hands, Mile Mang pulled away. Dong Kyung woke up. Her brother, Sun Kyung, arrived, asking for money for a training center. Knowing his fickle nature, she refused. They argued. After Sun Kyung left, Mile Mang said, "What if I killed him now?" Dong Kyung angrily told him to retract his words. He added, "You're just like tiny stars in the sky. What can you do to me?" She wished she could die. Mile Mang transported them to a deserted place. He pulled out a gun and gave it to Dong Kyung. She couldn't shoot. He said, "From now on, if I don't hold your hand, you'll die." Then he left. He went to the courthouse to oversee a prisoner's trial. Dong Kyung received a call from the hospital about her brother's accident. She rushed there. Arriving, she overheard Sun Kyung talking to his friends. He'd intentionally staged the accident to get money for partying. As Sun Kyung chased after his sister, the doctor stopped him and explained her condition. Sun Kyung, realizing his sister's illness, burst into tears. Outside, Dong Kyung encountered Mile Mang, disguised as a doctor. At that moment, the convicted murderer was brought to the hospital. Seeing them, he lunged at them with a knife. Dong Kyung threw herself in front of Mile Mang. As the knife was about to strike, blood fell. Mile Mang caught the knife. His anger reached its peak. He told Dong Kyung, "Don't look." He then controlled the criminal, making him slit his own throat, causing blood to splatter. Dong Kyung was extremely worried, but when she looked again, Mile Mang's hand had healed. Sun Kyung, tearful, emerged. Knowing everything, he apologized to Dong Kyung. At home, Sun Kyung asked, "Did Mile Mang know everything?" When Mile Mang confirmed it, Sun Kyung hugged him. He then agreed to let Dong Kyung and Mile Mang live together. Without Dong Kyung noticing, Mile Mang disappeared. He revisited the events of the morning. God appeared beside him, questioning why he saved that human girl. Moreover, if she died, he couldn't destroy the world. With this convincing argument, God was speechless. The next day, he asked Dong Kyung why she had saved him yesterday. Dong Kyung replied simply that she wanted to, leaving him to understand. She told him not to read other people's minds but to judge for himself. They went to the supermarket. Mile Mang read the thoughts of a woman ahead, angering Dong Kyung. At work, to her frustration, Mile Mang transformed into a Xiaomi employee. She was about to scold him when her boss called her in. He asked if she was dating a coworker, as the man kept staring at her. Outside, Mile Mang asked her to teach him how to print documents, a pretext to hold her hand. Their coworkers stared. During a group lunch, Mile Mang ate whatever she ate, raising suspicions. The next day, their boss, on vacation with his wife, video called to reprimand everyone. As Jai Na was about to apologize, Dong Kyung took the blame. The boss told her to persuade the author to return to work, or she would be fired. Dong Kyung used a company card to invite the student to a meal for persuasion. But at the restaurant, she found Mile Mang working there. Dong Kyung tried to persuade the student to return. When ordering more food, Mile Mang repeatedly claimed they were out of stock, forcing her to go to a convenience store. Mile Mang approached the student and said, "Why are you so stubborn for someone so young?" The student got angry and left. Returning, Dong Kyung only found Mile Mang. She asked when he'd started following her. Mile Mang replied, "Since you were born." He said that since humans were born, he had observed their growth. Then, Mile Mang covered Dong Kyung's eyes. When she opened them, she was on a beach. This wasn't a dream. Dong Kyung sat down and confided in him. They looked at each other for a long time. She asked if he wanted to kiss. At that moment, Mile Mang said it was getting late and transported her home. That night, as Mile Mang was about to leave for work, Dong Kyung stopped him, wanting to go with him. He said his work wasn't just destroying life, but also preserving disappearing customs. He told Dong Kyung, "Fall in love with me. I want you to be the first human to love me." Actually, he just wanted her to live. Dong Kyung said, "Since looking at you, I know you're a good person." That night, she was flustered talking about love. She was about to go to her room, but Mile Mang stopped her. He said he didn't know what he'd do with the house if she left, making her worried, so she slept on the sofa. Dong Kyung was having coffee with coworkers when she saw Sun Kyung working part-time. He told her to quit her job because he could take care of the money. But she had been in that job for 6 years and didn't want to quit. Back at the company, the boss announced that the author they collaborated with had disappeared and asked Dong Kyung to bring him back. Dong Kyung got angry and went to talk to Jai Na. That evening, when Dong Kyung returned home, Mile Mang appeared, helping her with Sun Kyung's things. Sun Kyung then gave her fish cakes. Dong Kyung told her brother they would go somewhere together the next day. The next day, they went to the hospital. Because the tumor could be hereditary, she wanted him checked. The doctor pulled Dong Kyung aside, urging her to have surgery. Every night, Sun Kyung called the doctor, crying, begging him to save his sister. The doctor then gave her a bottle of medicine, saying, "If you're in pain, take this." Dong Kyung went out for a walk when God appeared. After a conversation, God gave her a toy box. Inside was a planetary globe. At the hospital, rumors circulated about a ghost doctor. However, the doctor's appearance varied depending on who saw him. It turned out Mile Mang changed his appearance according to each person's perception. When he met Sun Kyung, she immediately asked, "Did you dye your hair?" which Dong Kyung found confusing. Looking at a photo of them together, she saw how handsome he looked in Sun Kyung's eyes. Understanding, she asked, "Do you appear differently now to him?" Mile Mang replied, "No, you're the only human who can see my true form." The next day at work, Dong Kyung was hesitant. Yi-jae said she didn't need to worry because she'd found a blind date for her. But Dong Kyung didn't want to go but eventually agreed. According to Yi-jae, her boyfriend would bring a friend for a double date. Arriving, Dong Kyung was surprised to find Mile Mang playing Yi-jae's boyfriend. While she and the other guy talked, Mile Mang, through intense eye contact, hypnotized them both, then took Dong Kyung away. On the way back, Mile Mang advised her, "Wish that you love me." Dong Kyung asked, "Will that work?" He proceeded to hypnotize her to confidently kiss him. As their lips were about to touch, he released the hypnosis, saying, "That's how it is," leaving her embarrassed. Jai Na and her boss were close. He wanted to show her how to write better. Learning she had a class reunion, he left. But at the door, he saw the umbrella they shared in school. They had kissed under that umbrella. At the reunion, Jai Na saw her ex-boyfriend, Hyun Kyu. This made her slightly uncomfortable. Hyun Kyu expressed concern, explaining he'd broken up with her to study abroad. He was the boss's younger brother. Both brothers liked the same girl. The next day at work, Dong Kyung kept thinking about the previous day's kiss. When she finished work, heavy rain fell at the bus stop, and Mile Mang was waiting. He pulled her hand and said, "Let's run." Dong Kyung asked, "Can I wish that you love me?" He replied, "No." Then he kissed her. They kissed passionately. Elsewhere, God said he'd created a system error and needed to erase it. Suddenly, Mile Mang recoiled and disappeared. God took him back to Dong Kyung's past, the day she applied for a job but had car trouble and was late. High school, then elementary school, where she was always bored and lonely. Finally, the day her parents were in an accident. God said, "It's all your fault. Because you appeared, her life became so unlucky." Mile Mang shouted, telling him to stop. They returned to the hospital. Mile Mang, enraged, caused everything to crumble. God simply smiled and restored everything. God said, "If you want Dong Kyung to love you again, you should understand what will happen." Dong Kyung, sadly waiting for the train, saw Mile Mang on the other side. Joyfully, she ran towards him, but her illness recurred midway. Fortunately, she made it to him in time. Returning home, she said, "Every time you disappear, I don't know where to find you, so I want to know your address." His home was a large mansion. Dong Kyung was delighted, saying she could find him now. Mile Mang said that if he was banished by God again, they might never see each other. Perhaps he'd misjudged his feelings for her, unable to grant her wish. He wanted to end their cohabitation and their meetings. Before Dong Kyung could respond, he transported her home, back to reality. An author had taken indefinite leave due to ovarian cancer, but she was strong, telling Dong Kyung to live as she wished. Before leaving, the author complimented her beauty. That evening was the company party, but only the talkative author attended. After a while, he again mentioned her illness, making everyone uncomfortable. He also pointed out that Dong Kyung was over 30 and unmarried. She couldn't take it anymore, saying, "It's my life, who is he to interfere?" Dong Kyung argued with him. She said, "Anyway, I only have 3 months left to live because of cancer." Then she left, amidst the silence of others. Reaching the crosswalk, she waited for Mile Mang to appear, but things didn't go as planned. At home, she climbed onto the railing, threatening to jump, urging him to appear. But she wasn't as brave as before. She was too scared and went back inside. While she slept, Mile Mang appeared, gazing at her for a while, then went to the riverbank, sadly sitting alone. The next morning, Dong Kyung woke up to find his pillow, knowing he'd been there. Then, she snapped the bracelet that symbolized their promise. Dong Kyung, due to a relapse, was being rushed to the emergency room. Mile Mang cried seeing her like that. Sitting alone, God appeared. He said, "Just leave Dong Kyung as she is, whether she lives or dies." But he said nothing and left. Dong Kyung woke up to find Mile Mang in front of her. While she was scolding him, he hugged her. Angrily, he asked, "Why did you break the bracelet?" She replied that she was angry he left his pillow but didn't see her. As Dong Kyung was about to continue, she suddenly disappeared. Mile Mang knew who was responsible. He ran to her house and saw Sun Kyung hanging laundry, saying he didn't know who Dong Kyung was. Extremely worried, he ran to her office to look for her, but no one knew of her. Even at her workplace, someone else had replaced her. Dong Kyung was currently in a garden, transported there by God. God said this was the first time someone had been more unfortunate than on the day she'd asked what he wanted from her. He approached her, taking the toy from her clothes, the one he'd advised her not to be unhappy about anymore because of Mile Mang. Dong Kyung stated she'd never felt unhappy while with him. God liked her answer, instructing her to take it out when she moved forward and knocked on the door that night. After Dong Kyung fell asleep, he went outside to meet God, who was waiting. God said perhaps he had been wrong. He recounted Dong Kyung's anger at him for his meddling at the company. Everyone was worried about Dong Kyung. Even her boss had called, and she hadn't answered, leading them to believe she was in a difficult situation. However, Dong Kyung was at home, eating cake and watching a comedy. Suddenly, the author who'd fallen ill called Dong Kyung. She said she would be undergoing chemotherapy the following month to prolong her life. She wanted Dong Kyung to laugh more and cherish life, urging her to try dating. On her way home, Mile Mang picked her up. As they walked down a path lined with cherry blossoms, she mentioned going to see cherry blossoms bloom in spring as a child. Mile Mang transformed the path, filling it with blooming cherry blossoms, if only for a moment. Dong Kyung felt incredibly happy. Before leaving, Dong Kyung confessed her love for him and said she wouldn't be home that night, instead staying at Jai Na's. Arriving, she asked if Jai Na would grant any request she made. Dong Kyung asked to be treated normally. When Dong Kyung returned home, Mile Mang took her hand. He transported them back to spring when Kyung was a child. They rode a carousel together. When Dong Kyung wished for something not a wish, Mile Mang kissed her on the carousel, saying she didn't need to wish if it was what she wanted. As Dong Kyung was about to speak, they bumped into someone: her mother, her father, Sun Kyung, and her younger self. As her father was about to chase them, time ran out, returning them to the gate. Dong Kyung felt happy until a voice called her name. She saw her mother, but upon closer inspection, it was her beloved aunt, visiting from overseas. Many times, Mile Mang seemed to fall asleep, but it was impossible. Back in reality, seeing her aunt, she ran away, leaving Mile Mang behind with his suitcase. They chased each other. Unable to catch her, he feigned a heart attack to get her close enough to grab her. Inside, due to Miao Meng's stubborn nature, Dong Kyung pretended he was sometimes American. Her aunt asked if they were lovers, as Sun Kyung constantly updated her, ensuring their living arrangement wasn't exposed. Dong Kyung gave her phone to Miao Meng before sending him away. Her aunt, affectionate towards her, bought her many clothes, urging her to live well to wear them all. Miao Meng waited for Dong Kyung's call. After a heartfelt conversation, Miao Meng wished her good night, seeming unusual to Dong Kyung. She asked if he would help her with small things. The next day, she went to the hospital with her aunt. Miao Meng transformed into a doctor, assuring her aunt that Dong Kyung could be saved. Her aunt had to pick up her Canadian husband from the hotel, asking Dong Kyung to go out with her. Miao Meng arrived, and her first act was taking him to a phone store. Although side by side, he called her Miss. They went to play. Miao Meng transported them to a remote island. A boy was waiting for his teacher for a graduation ceremony, but the ferry to the island had stopped. Miao Meng, as the teacher, stepped in. Dong Kyung appeared to help take pictures. Outside, he suggested that the teacher had perhaps gone to God's garden. Because God bore the burden of all of humanity's suffering, he continually suffered illness, died, was reborn, and then died again from illness. This cycle repeated endlessly. Afterward, the two of them went shopping together. She went into a shoe store and said she wanted to buy everything, but when the employee gave her the price, she had to settle for a few pairs. Miao Meng followed her, carrying her bags. Dong Kyung went around buying gifts for everyone. When she arrived at a handbag store, another girl also wanted to buy the same item. So, she used a pitiful ploy, saying she wanted to buy gifts before she died. What moved the other girl was that she yielded to her. The last thing she wanted was for the two of them to take a picture together. Miao Meng proactively hugged her, making her very happy. That night, he entered Kyung An's dream, creating a scene in a restaurant. Afterward, Aunt Jun Kai and Jai Na also appeared. She was very surprised and grateful to him for what he did for her. The next day, he went to the hospital to find God. He said he would try to prevent everything that God worried about from happening. Before leaving, he said that lately he felt God was very pitiful, and thanked him for creating him. God, at that moment, had given a lot of blood. Perhaps, time is not much. That night, Dong Kyung was waiting for Miao Meng to come and hold her hand. Because they didn't live together anymore, life was a little inconvenient. Before leaving, Dong Kyung asked if she could wish to live again. He said no. He didn't have the power to do that because he was the destroyer. When he got home, he met an old man. After being lectured by the old man, he understood and rushed back to Dong Kyung's house. Knowing he didn't have much time left, he said he loved her very much. Then Dong Kyung said, "Let's love each other." Her aunt called her in, so she said goodbye to him. Dong Kyung went to Miao Meng's house unannounced, surprising him. Because they had just started dating, when he sat closer, she shyly moved away. When he moved closer again, she stood up and used the excuse of looking at expensive goods. Miao Meng pressed her against him. They were reaching a climax when she got a call. Dong Kyung and Miao Meng were now strolling together. Dong Kyung complimented how beautiful the night was, and he flirted back, saying she was even more beautiful, making Dong Kyung embarrassed. She teased him, "Miao Meng, you're so dark tonight, can I get a kiss?" When he took her home, Dong Kyung asked if he wanted to come in for a bowl of noodles, but Miao Meng, fearless, went in. When they went upstairs, they found everyone grilling meat. Miao Meng joined them for the fun. Her uncle also wanted to offer him a drink for being his niece's boyfriend. When her aunt went inside to get more alcohol, she accidentally saw the photo Dong Kyung had taken. What was it for? What picture? She sat there hugging the photo and cried. Seeing her crying for a long time without stopping, Dong Kyung went inside and saw her crying. She felt very sad and hid behind her. Afterward, the two pretended nothing had happened and tried to continue the party. When Miao Meng was leaving, he told her to express all her feelings because if she remained silent, no one would know. So, the next day, she began to fulfill her wishes. She went to the hospital to find God, then gave him a watering can to water the seeds. God told her to love and continue living, because after all, Miao Meng was also born because of her. When she was leaving, the doctor called her back and gave her a wedding invitation. He hoped she could live and attend his wedding. Outside, Mile Mang saw the invitation and said, "Lucky the bride isn't Dong Kyung." She continued to see everyone in the office. Yijai said she wanted to change her previous wish to wanting her to live well, but Yijai had a question. Who was the man behind her who kept staring at them? Afterward, she went to see the young author. Dong Kyung asked him for an autograph to give to the author who was sick. He signed Dong Kyung's hand and wished her recovery. Dong Kyung gave the autograph to the author. Dong Kyung said she also wanted to live now. When she went outside, she saw Mile Mang smoking and scolded him. He told her to marry him because they had planned to live together, but she felt he was moving too fast, so she took him to visit his parents' ashes. Then she bought him a cake to celebrate a belated birthday. She told him to state his wish, and she would listen. His wish was for her to live, and he would try to make it happen. Returning home, Dong Kyung reviewed her to-do list. She had almost finished everything, only one last thing remained. She packed her clothes into a suitcase, then looked at her aunt and younger brother one last time before leaving. Mile Mang had guessed this, so he was waiting for her downstairs. Dong Kyung stated her final wish, that they break up and never see each other again. She said that if she lived, they should get married, and then they held hands one last time. Mile Mang was incredibly heartbroken, begging her not to go, but Dong Kyung resolutely released his hand and left. Because she didn't want him to sacrifice himself for her, she chose to leave. She went to the beach house and recalled memories of playing with Sun Kyung. That night, Mile Mang came looking for her, telling her to say everything she wanted to say to him. Dong Kyung cried and said that she wanted to live. She wanted to live with the people she loved. On Dong Kyung's island, as they approached her house, Mile Mang said he had one wish, that she would forgive him. She was still hesitant as she opened the door, only to find everyone waiting for her. Fearing their worry, he had called them there. That night, Mile Mang helped his aunt cook, and she told him about Dong Kyung's childhood. Because of this, the two became closer. At the hospital, God suddenly fell ill and fainted. He said goodbye to Dong Kyung, saying he would go to God for a while and be right back. He said he understood why he shouldn't fall in love, because it causes suffering. God said that the gods were all created for humans, that's their job. Going outside, seeing his dejected face, Dong Kyung reached out to hold his hand and comfort him, just as he had done for her. At that moment, a young boy was about to cross the street when a motorbike sped towards him. Luckily, Mile Mang rushed out and saved the boy. Since being with her, he'd developed a bit of human emotion. He found them pitiful and helped. At this time, his aunt and her husband were going to the hospital to find the young doctor from before. But because Mile Mang had transformed into him, the receptionist said the hospital had no such doctor. While his aunt was suspicious of Dong Kyung, an old woman appeared, saying the hospital was haunted. But his aunt didn't believe it. Then the old woman revealed that only she and her niece had tricked her. Suddenly, his aunt had a stomachache and fell down. While Dong Kyung and Mile Mang were watching the moon, they received a call from her uncle saying that his aunt was in the hospital. She rushed there because her aunt's stomach had ruptured, causing spasms. Her aunt told her to explain who that doctor was and told her to be hospitalized. Dong Kyung said that even if she had surgery, she would die, causing her aunt extreme distress and a relapse of her illness. She cried and went outside, where she met God. She begged God to help because she was exhausted. God said he would help. He couldn't let her live on because that was her fate, but he could change the fate of her and Mile Mang. The two would not remember each other if she chose this. If she chose this, then there would be no destruction contract, and her loved ones would not die. When she wholeheartedly agreed, God coughed up blood, and the toy Mile Mang had given her shattered. The two began their days without remembering each other. When a gasoline thief tried to burn down the house, Mile Mang appeared. He knocked the man down, poured gasoline on him, put a cigarette in his mouth, and lit it, scaring him so badly he wet his pants. He checked the man's bag and found things used for crimes, from harming animals to planning to kill children and the elderly. He taught the man a lesson. Afterward, he returned to the hospital to work. Dong Kyung also brought apples to visit everyone. First, the doctor was outside in the hallway when she accidentally bumped into Mile Mang and was caught by him. Because they no longer remembered each other, she felt his face was familiar. Afterward, she visited the author. The author asked why she looked so sad. The last time they met, She was smiling brightly and said she loved life. But Dong Kyung couldn't remember that and thought it was due to the symptoms of her tumor. The three of them went home to pack when her ex-boyfriend texted her. Hearing that she was sick and dying, he shamelessly said he would forgive her. Sun Kyung told her to give him a beating. However, she vaguely remembered meeting someone else. Indeed, all connections with Mile Mang were severed. Jen, feeling bored, went to the hospital to help Dong Kyung pack. While they were getting a drink, they overheard some women gossiping about the hospital being haunted. She also mentioned meeting a very handsome doctor, but the women insisted it was a ghost because all the doctors in this hospital were old and ugly. While seeing Jaina off, Dong Kyung accidentally dropped the bracelet Mile Mang had carved for her. He was still carrying out justice. This man had beaten his child to death. Hearing Mile Mang talk about his son, he changed his attitude, switching from crying to arrogant defiance before leaving. But just by Mile Mang speaking, the man's legs and ribs were broken. When Dong Kyung picked up the bracelet, she saw Mile Mang chasing his prey. Both sides were angrily honking. He decided to kill this scum, but he discovered Dong Kyung observing everything from afar, so he let the man run away, staring intently at her. Dong Kyung was now very curious about the strange man in front of her and asked how he could make the cars start and honk. Mile Mang was very surprised that she could see his appearance and remember him. The man who had just run away, thinking he had escaped, suddenly fell asleep. When he woke up, he found his hands and feet tied up in the morgue. He wanted him to experience again the helpless, maddening feeling of his son. The next day, the author visited her. He came out of curiosity, asking about her previous choice. If she chose the person she loved, the world would be destroyed. Or if she saved the world, the person she loved would die. And, of course, Mile Mang didn't remember what she had said. When she returned to her room, she saw a girl struggling to open a bottle of water. The girl told her to go to the hospital rooftop because it had a beautiful view. After hearing the girl, Dong Kyung went to the rooftop and met Mile Mang smoking. He said if she wanted to commit suicide, she should go somewhere else. Dong Kyung said she hoped the world would be destroyed. Hearing this, Mile Mang found it interesting, moved closer, and said she had great potential. Now, Dong Kyung began to feel something for him, so she chose to leave. When she entered the elevator, he followed and said that in 5 seconds, she would feel pain. Dong Kyung doubted it, but exactly 5 seconds later, the tumor attacked, causing her pain. She begged him to help her. Mile Mang sat down and held her hand, and Dong Kyung's pain stopped. He told her to wish for the world to be destroyed, and he would help her. But she didn't believe he had that ability, so he transported them to the beach. Then, each of them said what was on their minds, which made her believe he was the destroyer. He said they should make a pact. He wouldn't let her suffer pain, and after she died, he would destroy the world. But Dong Kyung refused. Seeing her bracelet, he asked where she got it. He instinctively touched Dong Kyung's face, then transported them back home. Tears fell from both their eyes simultaneously. Mile Mang went to find God, asking what he had done to him. When he left, the flowers in the pot bloomed again. Dong Kyung now realized something and found Mile Mang's number in her contacts and called him. When the door opened, Mile Mang appeared. They both asked who the other was. Suddenly, something came over her, and she pulled him into the elevator to hide. Mile Mang took Dong Kyung to a cafe to talk. He asked her if she had ever met God in human form. Knowing God hadn't done anything but told her to go to the rooftop, he abruptly changed the subject, asking who she was calling earlier. Dong Kyung said that she suddenly cried and called a number she didn't know. When she called back again, the other end didn't answer. But when Mile Mang returned home and checked his phone, he saw a missed call. Furthermore, when he opened his phone's background image, he saw a picture of himself and Dong Kyung. It was time for Dong Kyung's regular checkup, but what surprised her was that the doctor was Mile Mang. After a few cursory examinations, it was time for a full-body scan. When Dong Kyung was put into the machine, he opened her phone but didn't see any pictures of them together because Dong Kyung was about to undergo radiation and chemotherapy, causing her hair to fall out quickly. The doctor advised her to shave her head because her hair would fall out from the medication. Dong Kyung went to the nearest hair salon and said she wanted a hairstyle like the models. The employee saw that she was wearing patients' clothing and was very worried. She came to shave her head like other patients. After styling, Dong Kyung looked beautiful, so the employee took some photos of her. After the photos, she said it was time to shave her head, making the employee stunned. Just as she was about to cut her hair, Kyung's illness relapsed. As she was about to faint, Mile Mang caught her and took her to the hospital. In her dream, she saw her own funeral. Beside her, Mile Mang was crying inconsolably. Seeing him like that made her cry and tell him not to cry, but he couldn't see her. When she woke up, she saw him sitting beside her, taking care of her. Dong Kyung touched his face and apologized. As he left, their beautiful memories began to flood back, so he went to find God, but she had disappeared. Then he entered her dream. Dong Kyung started to panic and run around, but everywhere was the living room. Dong Kyung told him about her dream, and he said it wasn't him because he had no emotions. After seeing her unconvincing smiles, no memories appeared. He took her to his dark garden. He asked if they had met before, and she said it seemed like they had, but she couldn't remember. Seeing Kyung's smile, he saw her smile from before and instinctively kissed her. Scenes of them being happy together started to flood back, and they gradually remembered. Dong Kyung remembered the day she made a deal with God. Suddenly, she woke up, took out her diary, and the wishes before her death began to appear. She immediately ran home to see if Mile Mang was there, but she didn't see anyone. As she fell into despair and thought she was going crazy, she received a call from Mile Mang. As she answered, his voice came from behind her. They recognized each other, and both cried, asking why they had forgotten each other. Dong Kyung had wanted to bear everything, but in the end, they were able to meet again. Mile Mang said they should accept their fate because even if they ran away, they couldn't escape it. When she returned to the hospital with Mile Mang, she saw her aunt anxiously waiting. Everyone around her had regained their memories of him. Her aunt asked why he hadn't been seen at the hospital lately. Mile Mang said he had a lot of things to prepare and said they would get married. When Sun Kyung and Jai Na heard this news, they were very surprised. Sun Kyung pulled Mile Mang outside to talk. Sun Kyung gave him a savings book, saying it was the wedding money they had been saving. On the 6th, she went to see the doctor. Hearing that she was getting married, the doctor was very happy and gave his blessings. Dong Kyung came because she wanted to stop radiation and be discharged. She knew her tumor was in a dangerous area, and she would die. The doctor was helpless and said he would postpone it until after she got married. When she returned to her room, she heard Mile Mang's voice from the bed next to hers. He was pretending to be a patient to talk to her, leaving her speechless. He had given her son Kyung's savings card the day before. The next day, when Dong Kyung was about to be discharged from the hospital, God appeared, his face etched with regret. He apologized for his wrong decision in helping her. Dong Kyung wanted him to help her one more time, but it was beyond God's ability, and he told her to accept her fate. When she got home, the doorbell rang. Peeking through the peephole, she saw a scene of Italy. But now he had even bought flowers to propose to her. The two of them embraced warmly. In the following days, they went out together, cooked together, and did all the things couples do. That day, Dong Kyung began writing letters and accompanying gifts for the people she loved. Although she wrote very casually, it made everyone cry. That night, Dong Kyung didn't want to sleep at all, but her eyes kept closing. She didn't want him to leave. She wanted him to stay with her. The moment she fell asleep, Mile Mang went outside to meet God. He went to say goodbye to God. He only had one more day. Mile Mang's choice was to sacrifice himself so that Dong Kyung could live in a world that wouldn't be destroyed, and her loved ones would be safe. When he returned home, he found Dong Kyung crying and calling his name. Mile Mang hugged her, apologized, and said it would be all right. He said they only had one day left. She didn't agree with his decision. She wished he would make her unable to love anyone else for the rest of her life. But Mile Mang refused because he had to save her. But she felt that life without him was meaningless. The two of them hugged and sobbed. After calming down, Dong Kyung wanted him to take her to the destroyed world. He used his powers, and when she opened her eyes, she was in the middle of a road, but there was no one around. This was the world after its destruction. Mile Mang would have to live in solitude here. The two of them went to a church to pray and then watched the sunset together. They kissed and then teleported back to the real world. It was almost 12 o'clock. They were about to be separated. Mile Mang said he would carry all her pain and sadness, so she should live happily. He stated his wish, which was the opposite of hers. He wanted Dong Kyung to be happy. As soon as he finished speaking, his body gradually faded and disappeared. She was incredibly heartbroken and didn't know who to share her grief with. After Mile Mang disappeared to save her, Kai's tumor began to shrink and then disappeared. The doctor was very surprised. This was the first such exception in his 10 years of work. He asked when their wedding would be, and she said it would be postponed for a while because he had gone to a very far place. That night, when Kyung was crossing the street, a hand grabbed her. She thought it was Mile Mang, but it was Sun Kyung. The whole family was having dinner, and she decided to move back to Korea with her husband and Dong Kyung. Dong Kyung also said she would go back to work, but they both firmly refused. After she persuaded them, she finally got their agreement. They wondered if she had broken up with Mile Mang because they hadn't seen him. The next morning, when Kyung woke up and went outside, she saw Mile Mang sitting reading a book. She immediately ran to hug him, crying and saying how much she missed him. Suddenly, her phone rang. Dong Kyung woke up. It turned out to be just a dream, so she accepted the reality. She went to a company meeting, and Yi-jae told her that her boss was very happy because of the lack of manpower, and since she also wanted to leave, he had scolded the loud-mouthed author from the other day. Dong Kyung learned that Yi-jae was the Shanghai Knight that was becoming increasingly popular. She felt she had to be careful. Even more shocking was that Ra-in and Jeon-min were dating. When Dong Kyung passed a flower shop, she remembered the day Mile Mang bought flowers to confess his love to her. That night, Dong Kyung went home and started writing her story, titled, "One Day, the Destroyer Knocked on My Door." The first time Mile Mang came to her, she was slowly accepting the reality of living without him and continuing her life. After dinner with her family, she went to Mile Mang's house. She opened her phone and reread the messages she had sent him, messages he had never replied to. As she was about to send another, Mile Mang's phone rang. She opened it to see a pre-written message from him, asking if she would be happy, but it hadn't been sent. Entering his room, she saw Mile Mang standing before her, but it was only an illusion, a figment of her imagination. When she got home, she met God at the bus stop. After the surgery, God was able to continue his life as a student. After a while of talking, God ran off, but Dong Kyung gave him her umbrella and ran home in the rain. In God's Garden of Eden, Mile Mang also arrived. God explained that initially, he was a butterfly that observed the life-giving flowers of humans. But after witnessing his sacrifice to save Mile Mang, the essence of his life had grown and blossomed. God said, "That girl is waiting for him," and told him to leave. That day was a normal workday for Dong Kyung. Until that evening, while she was on the bus, the vehicle suddenly stopped. Everyone lurched forward, but a hand caught her. Startled, she asked who it was, and he said, "It's me, holding your hand." Then, hand in hand, they walked home. Dong Kyung hugged him, asking if it was a dream, but he said it was real. At home, he recounted everything. He had gone to the Garden of Eden and then received God's help to return. Because his life-giving flower had bloomed, he was no longer the destroyer but a human. Being human, Mile Mang was hungry, but Dong Kyung brought out a pile of snacks because they were out of other food. He was very happy because it was the first food he had ever eaten that she had made. That night, they slept looking at each other. But when Dong Kyung woke up, he was gone. She ran outside to check and found him in the living room. Her fear disappeared. That night, Dong Kyung took him to her aunt's new apartment. Seeing everyone, he said, "I've arrived," making everyone smile. Her aunt asked when Kyung would move in, and she said she would think about it because it was closer to her company, but her aunt didn't agree. She wanted to live with her until she got married. They went for a walk together and watched the sunset. Mile Mang said he wasn't lonely anymore because he had found his life's direction her. The next day, the whole family started making kimchi to celebrate Dong Kyung's recovery. Jae-na and the team leader also came. They were surprised that everyone here knew each other. During the meal, everyone showed off their boyfriends and girlfriends. Hearing Jae-na's love story made Mile Mang smile, saying they were very cute. The couple started getting affectionate. Before Mile Mang went home, they missed each other, kissing and hugging before separating. When Mile Mang worked at the hospital, a family member thanked him for saving his wife. Mile Mang felt this joy. That night, he had a date with Dong Kyung, so he went to a cafe. He was then introduced to her colleagues by Dong Kyung. Back at Mile Mang's house, he asked her to stay the night. A shooting star suddenly streaked across the sky. They both prayed together, and so they lived happily ever after.